Good morning, everyone. Ellen Sutter of ESP Presents and ESP Book Chats, where we bring page turners your way. Today is our Scout Out, Shout Out. Whoop, whoop. If you're an author and you know who you are and you're ready to come on up and join the show. Hello, how are you? Good to see you. Good to see you there. I have two authors that said they were coming up. Um, Hopefully they come in the room. Uh, there you go. Come on up. There's a guy that should be coming in. I see you there. Come on up in the room. Orlando, I hope I said your name right. Come on in the room. Let's see if it works. Good morning. Good morning to you.
Good morning to you as
Good.
well.
Did you want your camera flipped? If so, we'll just keep it rolling.
No, this is fine.
Okay. Awesome, awesome, awesome. I met you over there on my page, on ESB Presents page. I did see your doc. I see you there. I did view your entire interview. And so let's get started. You could talk about a little bit about both books, and let's just go for it. Tell us where you from, about your book, and what is your genre.
All right, thank you so much. My genre, I'm a poet, and I've been writing for about 20 years, but I first got published back in 20. My first book, which is called My Scars Are My Birthmark, is a book of poetry that looks at that is based on the trauma I experienced growing up as a black man. I'm originally from St. Louis, Missouri, and looks at the trauma I experienced individually. It looks at, poems that are based on the trauma that I experienced connected to the Black community. And then it looks at the trauma that the Black community experienced being connected to United States and the greater world. And then the second book I have is called Black Music, Politics, and Word Bombs. And in that book, it's a different book because it's centered around social political issues that are more relevant to Black folks currently in the United States, and its connection to white supremacy and just long-term colonization of Black bodies around the world.
Good in a nutshell. Let's go back to your first book. You
Yes,
mentioned
ma'am.
about black men and trauma. What was those trauma, and are black men in touch with the reality of their trauma? Let's go there.
Okay, so basically, what I'm trying to do is basically put out there the things that a lot of times we're afraid to discuss. Those issues, those events that we go through that whether it's issues of violence, issues of sexual molestation, issues of just simply growing up and understanding who you are and where you belong and what kind of magic you have, and accepting that magic that you have in yourself. Just like women have magic, we call it black girl magic. Well, I look at it from the standpoint that black men are also, we don't just simply need joy. We also need that power to be who we are and to be responsible and accountable in the community from which we come from. So I a lot of times think of it as black men need their power. So I think of it as, call it black boy juju. And you getting up and being able to, despite the pressures of this world and the things you've been through, coming through it and standing up and being able to continue on in this world as who you are and who you're supposed to be.
You hear me? I got a
Yes,
call.
ma'am, I can.
Okay. So could you say the last thing you said? There was a call that came through.
Okay, no, I was just simply saying that, it's basically in the book, it's looking at that trying to basically putting out there those issues that Black men go through, whether it's an intersection between sexuality or just simply everyday life that you're going through, trying to, in this world, trying to understand who you are and define and move away from definitions of who you are that are toxic and that are not really meant for you, and coming through that and standing up and showing how beautiful you are and how strong you are and your commitment to the community from which you come from and being there to help that community go forward.
Okay, one of the things I want to hone in on when you said about whether they have been trauma or any type of molestation as a man, well, maybe it's by a woman, maybe it's by a man. Can you really talk about that as a man? To me, it doesn't seem, as a woman, not in totality, but in general, as a woman, men do not talk about that, or nor can they say it, because even being raped or anything like that, it is known to, what are you talking about, man? You just had sex. Sex should be sex and you should be happy. Whereas in a woman in our community, if she's been violated in any kind of way, we can have those powwows. We can talk about that. Is there somewhere to go if you have those type of situations?
Sure. Definitely. There are plenty of right now. There are plenty of podcasts out there that are dealing with Black men's therapy, getting therapy. You have podcasts that are called Express Yourself, Black Man. There's one that's called Every Black Man Needs Therapy. There's organizations like Black Men Build that are out there that are addressing those issues in a more direct way and a powerful way, and using actually professionals who are able to, address those issues and point Black men to Black professionals in therapy, in psychiatry, as well as psychology, as well as psychiatric help as they need, out there. So there is a growing number of people who are specializing and trying to make themselves available. There's a brother named FD Signify who's devoted a lot of his video essays to addressing issues for Black men, and another brother named Professor Odie who has seminars and who does actually low-cost payment plans to help Black men get the therapy that they need.
Sounds good. Okay, just one more question because we have
Yes,
others.
ma'am.
Well, so my last question to you is, where is that foundation or that safe place where you can go as a man to talk about drama?
I think those are the places where you can go. You can find those things. Black Men Build is an organization that has periodic meetings and access for men to get that therapy. Any of those things any of those people or platforms that I just mentioned is where they can go.
Tell us where we can get your book from and what platforms are you on, and thank you. And put your link in this talk so that we can take a look at it. And if you like what I'm doing, I'm being monetized now. Give us some symbols or whatever if you like what I'm doing. Thank you so much, and tell us where we can reach you.
All right, so my books are both available on the Barnes and Noble and Amazon platforms. You can catch me on IG, as you can see from my user ID, and that has my user profile has all of the videos and all the links to everything that's going on right now. I'm also involved with my partner. We're starting a media company where we're making comic books. We plan to make film and television as writers.
Thank you so much, and I look forward to that. Put your book link in there so we can get that book.
Yes, ma'am, I will do.
Both of them there. Thank you so much. I see Syrup Sandwich, Anthony Owens, come on up. Thank you for being here, and thank you for sharing your book. Let's see. I am going to invite, hit that button, Anthony, if you there. Let's see. I'm going to invite you in. There you go. Come on in the room.
Hello.
Good morning, Anthony. How are you?
I'm well. How are you?
Great. Sorry you wasn't able to navigate that, but we're here now. Tell us about your book, where you're from, and what do you want the folks to know here?
Well, good morning, everyone. I grew up in Brooklyn, New York. My book is called Syrup Sandwiches. The title is Choose Not to Give Up. And Syrup Sandwiches is the name. Reason why I named it Syrup Sandwiches is because I was raised by a single parent, and we struggled, right? And we had to eat sandwiches that were made out of condiments, syrup, ketchup, mustard, mayonnaise, right? But the book is not about food. It's about the struggles of life and not being defined or defeated by the traumas that we all go through in life, right? It's a book about finding a way to believe in yourself, believe in your God, and choose not to give up. So I don't want people to feel like, because they go through trauma and because their life has been really difficult, that they can't make it, right? Because I still believe that people can do and be anything they want to do or be in life as long as they believe in themselves and never give up. So my book is about, choosing to not quit.
Mm. Anthony, I had several talks with you, and we had a phenomenal talk. I really enjoyed talking to you.
Thank you.
What do you want those folks out there to know, those who are in impoverished areas, those who may be the oldest child and have to literally helping take care of the family, and then don't have that safe space to just say, let me be this kid first. They have to jump right into being an adult and honing in on taking care of the family. What do you say to those folks out there?
I say that unfortunately, sometimes we have to go through situations like that, and we're forced to be in situations where we really we shouldn't be in, actually, but we just have to learn that we can't allow ourselves to be consumed or to give up because of what is going on, right? And therapy is definitely a good option, right? And as you get older, right, because a lot of times the younger people, when they go through trauma, a lot of times they don't get any help or assistance with that until sometimes when they get older, right? So it's important that we make sure that we seek counseling and we seek therapy and believe in ourselves, right? Because that's more important than anything else. And so I just let them. I like to tell people that no matter how tough everything is, and you're going to get knocked down because life is tough and sometimes even unfair, but you cannot give up. You cannot. And no one can stop you from achieving anything in your life except for you, right? So get out of your own way and make it happen.
Last thing to you, Anthony. You just mentioned about in the former author mentioned too about trauma and as well as getting therapy. In our community, the Black community, we look at therapy as you copped out, you're weak. How do you say to this community that therapy is okay? We can have God and we can have therapy. How do you make our community know that it is good to have therapy?
Well, I do it like I do a lot of TikTok lives, right? And just recently I have this series called Men's Real Talk, where we talk about men showing their emotions, men going to therapy, men doing things in their community and with their families that will help them to evolve and to grow. By me having this platform where I talk to all these men and people watching, they realize that they too, and even the men on the panel, they've gone through counseling. They know that it works. And my thing is to let people know that that's an option that they should definitely look into, because you can't fix everything on your own, right? You can't pray everything away. You really can't. So that's why these people get paid. That's why they're educated. That's why they go through what they go through to help us. So please, I tell people that all the time.
Get the help that you need.
Exactly.
Tell us where we can get your book from. Do put your link on there when you get a chance, and tell us what platform you're on. And thank you for coming today.
Not a problem. Thank you for having me. I'm available on Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Ingram Sparks. It's available in Kindle, hardback, paperback, and audiobook as well. And I have a children's book about bullying as well. So you can go to my website at www.antowens.com, and I'll put it down in the bottom. And thank you so much for your time.
You are so welcome. I look forward to the children's book. Have an amazing day.
Thank you. You too. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye. Do we have anybody else out there? Just say, I'm an author, put it in the chat, and then come on up. I do like for you guys to have book in hand, and I understand that sometimes you can't. I know that Doc is there. If there's anybody else, Doc, let's see. Come on up, Doc. Let me invite you in. Kimberly, I'm going to invite you in first. Doc, I will have you to come in. Kimberly, come on in. I see Savannah. If you are author, let me know. Kimberly, come on in if you're able to. Good morning, Kimberly.
Good morning.
Am I saying it right? Is it Kimberly or Kimberler?
Kimberly, can you hear me?
I can hear you. I see you have your book there. Tell us about yourself, where you're from, and what genre.
Hi, I'm
and show your book.
Kimberly. I'm Kimberly Beasley. I'm from Tulsa, Oklahoma. I have this is kind of it's kind of true, but it's fiction. It's based on children who are from mixed identity, mixed culture, and basically kids who look like me.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I grew up not really knowing my true heritage, and that was kind of problematic for me growing up because not knowing my true culture was, the world is society is basically, a color line. Either you're white or you're black, and, kids like me, growing up like I grew up, you had to pick sides, and it's kind of hard for
Mm-hmm.
children, to grow up like that. So I grew up being bullied and picked on, and children, it's kind of hard for children to grow up with. So I create this book um,
Can you
for
put it up
kids.
in the view because I can't really see it?
Yes,
Okay. Yes. Yes.
it's
What is
called
it?
Searching for
Okay.
Me. And growing up in the era I grew up in, my family didn't really talk about it. um, for whatever reason, they didn't talk about a lot of our lineage, and so I didn't get a lot of answers as to my heritage. Um, so in this book, the little girl, without a lot of answers, she went in her dreams to her maternal grandparents, and so to try to find her lineage, and with that, she didn't really get a lot of answers that she wanted, but in turn, her maternal ancestors told her that you're looking at the wrong thing. It's really what's on the inside of you that matters, not what your hue is.
Mm-hmm.
So I want little children when they read this book to know that their self-worth is more important than what's on the outside of your skin.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my message to children who read this book, is to find what's on the inside of you, not what's on the outside of you.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what's most important to me when children read this book.
I'm glad you're writing a book like this. We don't talk about this much, but we know that when we are in America, they want us to if you have a black parent, then you're black.
Yes. Yes.
So they don't want to hear anything about that you're biracial or anything like that. Whoever is black, that's who you are.
Right.
And a long story short, there was this woman, and she was dating two guys, one that was not black and one that was black. So she decided to come to me and ask me, was her baby black or white? A visual DNA, if you would. And
Exactly.
I told her, I said, your baby is black. She said, how you know? I said, our baby come out like that, but I know my people.
Right.
So long story short, she has on the birth certificate white. So the girl, she has the cinnamon look and she looks black. So now she has to grow up with going to school and they taunting her because you're not white, you look black.
Exactly.
And so that's what society does to her. They want to know what color we are. They don't care about that you're white, Chinese, and other. They do care if you're black in something.
Exactly.
So
exactly. Mm-hmm.
so
We have a melting, most people in our society, we have everything in us. There's, we have so many cultures in us, and it's really unfair to say you're one, because we have so many cultures in us. So it's just not fair to just label one thing, because I have so many cultures, and I'm pretty sure you do too. And it's just not fair for children of mixed heritage to just choose one culture. When we're a melting pot of everything. So I just want children to know that be proud of everything you are. You don't have to pick just one. Just be proud of who you are on the inside, because we are all beautiful how we are made. We're all made in God's image. So be proud of that. Be proud of that.
Remember back in the day when two questions, okay?
Yes.
Do you remember back in the day when Tiger Woods, when he was coming into his game, and they finally just asked him, about his genetic makeup. He said, I'm Asian, blah blah blah. And he started, and people was mad. I don't know if it's more so the black community, more so that side, but I think it was mostly the black community. Who do you think, I'm putting you on a hot seat, are most mad when you start wanting to have exclusive or inclusive of who you are? What community you think get mad the most? And you're on a hot seat, girl.
Oh, I think African. I'm African American. That's what I am. I am. But I think our community is the most get most angry because we think that you sell out if you say you're not African American. Um, put you know, but I mean, um, what reason I don't know, but I just think that we think that you sell out when you don't say that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But I mean, you do a DNA test on yourself, and you see you have everything in you. Unless you were born in Africa, then you're not. You're not authentically African.
Mm-hmm.
But it's just our community. We're the worst. We are the
Yeah.
worst.
Do you
We're the
have any
worst.
children? Do you
I
have
have
any children?
a son.
And have you explained to them about heritage and that? And I know some people will say, "Are you going to raise them black? Are you going to raise them white?" And then some people say, "I'm going to raise them as a human being."
And my son, I think he was most confused when he was growing up, because I think when they asked him, when I used to go to school with him, come to school, they were like, "Is your mama white?" And he was like, and I think he didn't really understand, because he would say, "Oh, my mama just has a skin problem." He didn't know, he didn't know to say, he didn't know to say, but I you know I raised him as your mom was African American. I just we all come in different colors and shades and tones. So you just have to be truthful with your
Mhm.
children. Just have to we come from different races and colors and shades, and that's the beauty of Black people. We come in different shades and tones. So you just have to be honest with children. And unfortunately, I grew up in an era where we my family didn't talk about things,
Mhm.
didn't talk about our ancestors, our lineage, and that's unfortunate.
That
That's
is so. That is so true. I remember my daughter, my oldest daughter. We're military, and we grew up. Our children very diverse.
mm-hmm,
They had never lived in an all black community,
mm-hmm,
and so being in the military back then, she's born in the 80s, and she didn't see many people that looked like
yeah,
her in her class as a kindergarten, first grade, those levels. And so what would happen is one day she came home and she's like, Mama, I want this off. I'm thinking something was on her hand. And it was her own skin.
right,
I had to tell her, sit down and tell her that she was black.
right,
Now, maybe I should have had that conversation telling her that she's black, but I just raised her that she is a human
right,
being. And so I
right,
don't think that we should just have to, but we do in this society, that we have to say, oh, that's she's black and she's Ellen. And like you'll hear many times in news reporters, here it is, Kimberly, a black female Kimberly newscaster. They want to really know your ethnic background,
yes,
and it's so society driven that we have to
it
do this.
is,
But
it
I
really is.
am excited about your book. What do you want to give those folks takeaway? Do put your link in there, and what do you want people to know about this story as a takeaway? And tell us where we can reach you and what platforms you're on.
My book right now is only on Amazon. It's on Amazon. I'm trying to get it. This is my first children's book. This is my first book, and I do want to write more. The takeaway of this book is just love yourself for who you are,
Mhm.
and anything else doesn't matter. And you don't have to prove anything to anyone. Just
Mhm.
love yourself for who you are. That's my only takeaway. And that's it.
Mhm.
But that you can find the book on Amazon. That's it.
And where can we reach you? Maybe you said that we can reach you where
You
or
can
what?
reach.
Hmm.
Pardon me.
Go
Go ahead.
ahead. You can reach you where?
You just reach me. My web. I don't have a my. I'm working currently on a Facebook page for
Hmm.
my searching for me. That's coming up. But right now, you just reach me at Kimberly .Beasley427 at gmail.com. And
Hmm.
I'll put that in my link. But I will, like I said, my book is just on Amazon right now. So.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to talking to you again. We could talk about that offline. Queenie told me about you, and this is something that much needed to talk about. We don't talk about being biracial as much, but we do see that there is
It
a
is.
fight. If you look
Yes.
more like a black person and you got white looking skin, that's a big fight.
Exactly.
If your hair looks more black, white, and you identify as a black, that's a fight.
It is.
So,
It is. It is. It is. It is. It is, because, growing up, my mother is your complexion.
mhm.
And, I have two other sisters, and, it was a struggle. It was a struggle. And it's unfortunate, but this is the world we live in. And I think today is even more important today that this conversation needs to be had.
And we'll definitely be back with the conversation in full detail with you. I'll tell you about that offline. If you like what you hear today, there's a little present box. You could just give a little presents if
Okay.
you like, and then tell others about
All right.
us, okay? Have an amazing day. This has been a great
Thank you.
conversation. Put your book
I
in that link.
will. Thank you.
All right, you're
Bye-bye.
welcome. All right, bye-bye. Doc, I don't know if you're there or if someone else is there. Just hit that X that'll bring you out. You have an
All right.
amazing
Thank
day. Thank you so much
you.
for the story, and we will talk about it more.
All right.
All right. So I don't know who else is there, but I think Doc is there. Let me see. I'm trying to hit this. Is there anyone else, an author? I'm going to bring you up, Doc. Come on in the room. I don't know who else. You got to let me know that you are author so I can bring you in the room. Doc, the amazing Doc. Thank you for coming in here. Two facets of yourself. Do tell people about you and also about your book, as well as what you got going on the business side of it.
Okay, great. Well, hi everybody, and hi Miss Ellen. My name is Dakina Frederick. My mom is from Liberia, West Africa. That name means one who's loved by his mother. And my nickname is Doc, which I've had this from the time I was a kid. I live here in Southeast Virginia. Been married going on 13 years. Have a beautiful family, beautiful wife. We're just grown. We homeschool our two girls. And, we're all growing in our own ways. We're a family of musicians and singers. And we love God, try to live and, make the world a better place in our own ways. And I wrote the book. One of the books I wrote is 101 Things Every Man Should Know to Experience a Life of Victory and Impact. And right now, what I'm focused on the business side is I help.
Wait, go back,
Okay.
Doc, because I'm not letting you just get off that book now.
Okay.
That book is amazing. I read it 2 times in its entirety. And so that book brings about relationship. It's would you say it's written for men, but women can enjoy? Who do you write? Who was your audience that you was writing to when you did
Well, so it's written for men, but I could absolutely repurpose that book and write it for a female audience. I wrote it specifically to men because that's what I knew God wanted me to do, was to write it for men. But there have been several women that have read it that have said, wow, I'm glad I read this because it helped me to know how to interact with my boys, my grandsons, and my, sons-in-law and that type of thing. So it's been good. And, I think my sister, she's read it a couple of times, and she'll be 30 this year, and she's enjoyed it. She's not a reader, but she definitely read it and enjoyed it.
It's definitely a great book. And you guys will see more of Doc in a moment. We'll put that on there as we can say goal 2, what we got coming up during the Black History Month. We'll talk about that offline until we get it on track. But thank you so much about that book. It's an amazing book, guys. I'm not just saying it. Do take your time. There is, I would say, read it like a devotional. And there are reflective things to talk about after each chapter. And so there is a audio coming up with it as well, right, Doc?
Mm-hmm. Yep, the audiobook is out, and that's available through my website exclusively at DAKFREDERICK.com. So docfrederick.com, and you can download a audiobook. You have your own app just like Audible and all that, and it's pretty neat.
That's amazing. Tell us about what you're doing now, because I got to hear a little glimpse about your business, what you're doing now. And just kind of take your time. I don't see anybody else after you. And just tell us how your business work and who's your audience within your business?
Sure. Thank you. So, how I got here is, I started with this desire over a long period of time. I went through a period of time when I was in the military where, I was gotten successful and did a lot of great things. And then within a couple of years, I pretty much kind of threw it all down the drain. And I almost lost everything. And that was a really hard place to come out of in life. And so when I got on the other side of that trial, if you will, I always had it in my heart to help other people, other men, other young men, to not go through that same type of trouble and, struggle and the things that I went through. And one of the ways that I discovered I could do that was through being an author. And so, and how that got started for me goes even back to when I was stationed in Japan, and I had a chaplain look at me, and after a 15-minute conversation, he handed me a book, and I didn't do much reading at that time. This was probably about, 15, 16 years ago. And at that time, I went home, and for the next week straight, I just cried about the condition of my life. It was a book written by a Christian, and it wasn't much that could really, draw me closer to God at that point in my life. I was just kind of running from him, but that book really made a difference in my life. And so what I do now is I help people who have stories of, they want to share stories of hope, healing, and success, and they want to do that to help other people, to experience those at greater levels, and in order for them not to go through the same things that they've gone through. So I help heart-driven people who are high achievers, who have stories of hope, healing, and success that they want to share, but they don't know where to start. And so I work with them very closely, one-on-one, through a customized, journey where I take them from idea to a completed book. And it's a deeply spiritual journey. And if anybody's ever written a book, that there are times where you reach roadblocks and you run into problems and all type of things happen. And so I'm that person that's coming alongside them to help them, through every step of the process.
That is amazing, because sometimes, not knowingly or knowingly, when you are, I've been in this since 16 years now. And so this is why we do what we do, because there are some awesome indie authors, or those who, not traditionally published, and I deal with both mainstream and newly published. And so newly published, that's our baby, because you need readership. You need community. You need someone that would walk alongside of you. Just because it's your first baby, you want to go ahead and deliver it everywhere, but you got to tend to that baby. You got to make sure that first book is getting where it needs to be. I've seen people that wrote their first book, and now they're on their 15th book. Well, we don't even know you from your first book. You know what I'm saying? Not that won't work, but you want people to know your first baby. When you have that first baby, you're writing, like from now, if you're going to do another book, you'll see not that with you, your stuff doesn't look amateur. But not saying that there are some amateurs, but first time writers, a little bit challenging. But looking at your book, you're no amateur in that, and then you'll get to see. And this is mainly with novels that you'll see, self-help books and different things. You'll see you got to come out the gate doing what you need to do. But if you write novels, you'll see your maturity from your first book that you've written to your whatever book you go into, and you'll see that maturity. Yeah. And so with yours, it's not characters, there's your life experience and different things like that. And so in your book, because we're talking about your book and we're talking about your business, and so I believe personally, Doc, that a writer should also be a reader. Absolutely. Do you believe that as well?
Oh, absolutely. I think that's probably the only reason that I am an author, is because I am a reader. I think in during the period of time where I was doing a lot of studying and a lot of research, a lot of that, I was at a point where I was reading 300 books a year for 4 years. over the last few years, and you know, things kind of died down. I've still gotten to the point to where I read at least one book a month. You know, this year I've read maybe 3 books already. You know, and I think it is important. I think it keeps you sharp. I think it helps you to learn. And one of the things that helps me even as a writing coach. I mean, there are books that I've read that I picked up bits and pieces on that helped me to help my clients better. And sometimes it's been where it was a situation that I had no idea that was going to come up that I just read about,
Wow.
a framework that helped me with that. Like, I recently read, one of the books I finished was James Clear, Atomic Habits. That was something it's been on my bookshelf for a long time to read. And I finally did. And I get into a coaching session and one of my clients has an issue. And I was like, oh, well, hey, why don't you do this? And it just turned out to be. So I think reading is a great way to store knowledge and treasure. It's wisdom, and I think that's really important to have. And and for some people, you read for entertainment purposes, that type of thing, which is fine too. I typically read for educational and spiritual enrichment, personal development, and learning communication and business and parenting and successful marriage and all these type of things. So that's what I do. I think it makes you a very well-rounded person when you do.
So true. Okay, when writing your book, Doc, some people write books, and this is on a novel aspect. They write books because they want to see it on the shelf. They do want it in the hands of reader, but they thought that putting it on the shelf would make it sell. And you have to do more than just put your book on the shelf. When you wrote your book, Doc, were you going beyond the shelf and put it in people's hands? And were you willing to take the walk that it takes to get that book out there?
Yeah. So when I first wrote my book, I did all of those. I did the Amazon, I put it online. I did ads. I did free promotional sites. I did paid promotional sites. And I carry my books everywhere I go. That was one thing that I just adopted, is that a good author always has books in his car or in her car. And so, yeah, I did that. I did some in-person things. I did a thing at a local bookstore here. We had the newspaper cover it, had a newspaper article going on, sold some books there. I've done some in-person speaking events, where I've been able to bring my books with me and sell them, sometimes making a couple $100 in one, 3-hour event where I'm there and people just come and they like it and they buy the books. I've done some business conferences. So I think it's really important to do both. And then there's been times where I've been riding down the street and I was in a whole nother town and there was a kid walking. I call him a kid. He was probably like, maybe 16, 17, 18 years old. So maybe I'm getting old. But I just felt like I'm supposed to pull over and talk to this guy. And I talked to him and I told him about the book. And he was like, yeah, I definitely would like that. And I ended up selling him a book on the side of the road, But I also felt like I was led to do that. And so I look at it as this is an opportunity to change people's lives. It's, it's not just about having your name on the front of a cover or having it on a shelf or even, online. This is an opportunity to change people's lives. And the more you can do that, the better.
Mm-hmm. That is so true. When you first wrote your book, did you think about that your audience would be predominantly male, or you were just writing it?
Mm-hmm. Well, when I was writing a book on personal finances, and I was 8 months into that book. I had it professionally edited by an editor. She used to work for Focus on the Family as an editor and do all these things. I got my editorial report back, and I was 8 months into it, and God was like, nope, I want you to stop, and I want you to write this book for men. And it wasn't a struggle for me. It was hands off. And from the time that I felt that God told me to do that, which was January, by June, I had a book. I had this book in my hand, designed the cover, formatted the insides, the legal pages, literally formatted the entire book.
Wow.
Did the legal pages, did the blurb, did it from A to Z, went through the entire process in 6 months. And, it was tough. It was a tough 6 months. But yeah, like I did it. I knew that's what God wanted me to do, and now I understand why. Because there were times where I was writing a book, and it was a call to go deeper and to talk about subjects that men deal with, that those hard topics that you won't hear talked about in a barber shop, or you won't hear, if you're watching the game, we're not talking about that type of stuff. Like, so this book covers those things that men need to hear, that either we won't tell each other or talk about each other too, but it's kind of a peek behind the curtain in a man-to-man conversation that's not, it's not coming from a domineering tone, like, oh, you need to get your stuff together. It's not one of those type of books. And I definitely felt a call to write it toward men. And in the process, I also was a little bit, I also had a little bit of struggle too, because I was like, man, I'd like to, do something for women as well. And even my wife, she was like, wow, this is good. You should make a book for women. And I was like, well, I'm not a woman. I don't, I don't know if I could write a book to women. And so the thing that came to mind for me was, why don't I write a book to my sister, and then make that book a public book? So then that way it's not really a book to women. It's just a book to my sister, and if other women want to read it, they can read it. And it's a non-intimidating, like, who is this guy trying to act like he knows the struggle of what it's like to be a woman and do all these things. So I'm glad I told you that, because I need to write that down.
But in all honesty, from reading your book, like I said, I read it twice. There's no gender on hearing that. But although it is geared toward men, women can get some as well. Okay. In the book. I mean, the same conversation, we can have those transparent things like that. What were some of your things that when you wrote in the book towards the men that you had a hard time writing down and letting it go free? Because you're this man, not only talking to your audience, you are talking to yourself as well. What was one of the most challenging things to write about in your book that you had to release yourself before you let it go public?
Yeah, I think for me it was, my struggle, back in the day with, with pornography and dealing with, that struggle. And that was a tough thing, because it was like, okay, there's criticism, there's, all type of things as a result, and how are people going to view you, these different type of things. But when you've been set free and you're walking clean, and you have that testimony, you can do that with a free and a clear heart. You don't have that that conscience where it's like weighing down on you, like, oh, I'm this or I'm that, or I'm saying I'm this and I'm that. I don't have that. And so that was one of the things that I had to grapple with was, is this something that is, how is this going to be viewed? All those type of things. These are things that people struggle with when they think about writing. There are people that write about how they were abused physically and all these different type of things, and they're very highly successful people that nobody knows about this stuff, and so they struggle to write these things. And I think it's in that same vein that I had that struggle as well. But I can tell you, I'm very glad that I did. One, because it's a reality that this stuff destroys families, it destroys people's souls, it corrupts your mind, it messes up your mind, it literally damages your brain. And I recently know of a family who had that happen. Mm-hmm. He had the very same things I wrote about in my book happen to him, and it's kind of a warning, and it's a call to stand up and have integrity, and to not let that remain in darkness, because whatever remains in darkness is going to continue. But when you bring that into the light and you shed light on it, it's exposed, and it has to. And so my call to men is to not wait until you're caught and you're exposed, and then now your world is turned upside down even more, but to rather come clean and to say, hey, you know what, I need help, whether that's directly to the person, whether that's to a counselor, whether that's through some type of relationship coach, whatever it is, but to get the help you need, so you can stand and walk in integrity.
One of the things you talked about a moment ago, like last month or something, about the transparency, about seeing your eye gate and seeing some things. You did tell us here that there was something, you simply just look up something on the internet and that thing, boom, right there.
Yep.
And you prayed about it and you immediately released it to your wife.
Yeah.
Now that tell me that is some great accountability.
Yeah, absolutely.
Tell us about that and how important it is if you're in, you're married, and how important it is to release to your spouse. Now, us as women, I'm going to tell you from our point of view, not in totality, but me as a woman and being a wife, some things that we may not can handle, and those things like that, if you tell us, you pray about it and tell us, and our integrity and our commitment and accountability to one another as a partner, we will go to that thing, we'll go to God for that thing. And it will play in our head as a woman, okay, he just told me this, then what else he did? What else he kept as a secret? And you have to pray for all of those things, especially that we as the helpmate, as the wife, that we are to cover each other. Tell the men out there that are looking, those are on this line, how important to be the transparency of a unity in a marriage, to really be transparent.
Oh, yeah. I think it's very important. Matter of fact, so my wife and I, we have a testimony. We did things God's way. We weren't together physically before we got married. We didn't even kiss each other before we got married, because we knew where that could lead to, and we wanted to honor God with our lives. And so, we started with a very high level of, we value intimacy at a very high level. And we've been very upfront. When we first got married, we were on our honeymoon. I told my wife, I said, "Hun, don't ever let me leave this house hungry." And she was like, "What do you mean?" I was like, "Don't ever let me leave here emotionally not connected with you and not in a good place." And that came from a book I read, that gave wisdom that said, hey, if you and your spouse are having issues, don't leave the house and go somewhere because you need to, obviously unless it's escalated or something like that, but don't leave the house and go somewhere and like, oh, I'm just going to go, sit at a restaurant. I'm going to go be by myself, and you're out somewhere because now you're in a very vulnerable emotional state. Now you're putting yourself in a situation. A woman comes up, she sees how you're looking, and next thing you know, you've increased the potential for you being tripped up. And so it was that level of just being real, with each other from the get-go. And we've cultivated a relationship where we communicate freely with each other. Even with the hard things. I mean, I had an instance several years ago where I'd gone to a business conference, and I literally wrote a prayer down, and I said, hey, I'm looking for somebody who is a videographer, who's a graduate from Regent University. And I very specifically, I wanted a specific person. And so I'm at this event, and we're introducing ourselves, and the lady in the back, she's like, hey, my name is such and such. Don't remember her name. She's like, I'm from Regent University. I have a degree in videography, and I'm looking to help XYZ. And I was like, oh, man, that's exactly what I prayed for, And so I ended up giving her my email and, just saying like, hey, I've got this project I'm working on. Maybe you can help me with doing some video, that type of thing. So I emailed her, and I was like, hey, I'd like to tell you more about what I'm working on. Maybe we can hop on a Zoom call or something. And she's like, well, how about we meet in person, like get some coffee or something? I was like, no, I'd prefer to, do Zoom. And she kind of kept pushing that. And I felt uncomfortable. I was like, like she keeps trying to go for this in-person thing. So I was like, well, are you okay with me bringing my wife and my kids? And she was like, oh yeah, sure. You can bring your wife and kids. But then I just felt like there was something that was there for me as a man. I was just kind of uneasy, because she was an attractive woman, but I was uncomfortable with that. And so I took that to my wife, and I was like, my wife was on her computer. She was like working. I remember she was sitting right here. And she was kind of busy, which she normally like will kind of answer me if I'm talking. And she was kind of into what she was doing. And I was trying to talk to her, and I was like, hun, I'm trying to save our marriage. And she was like, she stopped, and it was just like, okay, everything everything I'm doing right now stops because my husband just said I'm trying to save our marriage. So,
That's right.
and
That's
I
right.
told her, I said, hey, you know, remember that lady I told you about with the event? I don't really feel comfortable with this because I keep trying to meet with her online, and she keeps talking about this coffee house thing. And there's some things about my wife that makes her effective. One is she doesn't go off. She doesn't get, you know, crazy and you
Wise woman.
know, all those type of things. She just kind of remains calm, and she's like, well, you know, honestly, if it's that big of a, you know, if you feel that big of a struggle with it, maybe you should just not even communicate at all. And I was like, you know, I was kind of thinking that, so I ended up shooting her a message and saying, hey, thank you. I no longer need your help, and I just deleted her stuff. I blocked her. Don't even know who she is. Like, never to be seen again. So I kind of give that long kind of story to just say that you know, we've developed that type of relationship. So yeah,
Awesome. That is so awesome. As a wife, I commend you as someone that what you feel inside of you, and to take that platform like that and say, I will not give into my flesh. I will not lose it all because I want to have something that I want to do for my business. You made precedence with your family. And that's what take precedence is what's going on with your family and what you're going to do for that. And that is what we're not having much of. And I think I talked to you or Andrew. He's on here. Hello to you, Andrew, as well, Andrew Johnson. We as married people, I'm gonna put this out here. We don't stand up for our marriage, meaning that we don't be accountable. Like marriage stuff that people talk about, we're quiet. The single people want to be married. The married people don't want to be married. And so marriage is not ball and chain. You look at that as teamwork, just like what you said with you and your wife. Y'all doing that. You're gonna have some times. You're gonna have some days. We call it. I didn't coin it, but we call it some intense fellowship. There's some intense fellowship, and I've been with my husband. Next month will be 36 years together, and then 32 years of marriage in April. And it's not an everyday cakewalk. You have to be intentional about this marriage, but you have to first. It's not a contract, but it's a covenant between you and God. And I value my covenant with me and God in regards to my marriage. It's a covenant for me.
absolutely. And I think the beauty of it is, and congratulations on 30. You said 36.
36 years together and coming
That's
up
awesome.
on 32 years of marriage.
Wow, that's awesome.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I love it. I think it's beautiful. Just you think about it, there are billions of people in the world, and I was just talking to my daughters about this last night. We had a family conversation around the table, which is extremely important for our family. We have some amazing conversations around the table, and I explained to them about marriage, and I was like, I said, you know, when you decide to get married, you're saying that out of all the billions of people in the world, you decide that you're going to come together with one person and that you will not be with any other person. And that's a beautiful thing. And I think we kind of see the fruit of that in our marriage is that, we're sitting around the table. We got a 7 and 9-year-old, and we're talking about, we're talking
That's
about
beautiful.
life.
That's beautiful. You got girls, you start young with that, and girls, they look at their dad. That's the first man in the first male relationship that they had, the transparency of being a man. And I look at your videos that you and your girls, y'all be together and things. And we're going to close it out with this. I remember talking to you a talk ago, and I asked you the question, because men that want a child, a son so bad, some of them will keep going until they get this son. And you told us something that I thought was fascinating about the quest of having a son, that you have two daughters. Let's talk about that.
So my whole life, growing up, I remember playing football with my dad, just getting outside, tossing the ball. And I think I was blessed that my dad was in my life enough to make a positive impact, but not enough to make a negative impact,
Yeah.
if that makes sense. So he taught me, he was there for me when I needed him, but I was also shielded from his his lifestyle. And so I kind of grew up with that picture in my mind, like, oh, I got a boy and we're going outside and we're throwing the football, and but about a year before I knew that I was gonna have a child, before my wife actually got pregnant, I shifted, and I was like, all of a sudden, I want a girl. I don't know why. I just want a girl. And it was just funny because God gave me he gave me the desire in my heart, and then he gave me a girl. And I remember somebody asked me, they were like, well, what if you never have what if you don't never have a boy? I was like, hey, if I have all girls, hey, that's fine. That's great.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Tell us where we can meet you. What platforms are you on? This is always great. Do you have a title name to your business that you're developing?
Yes, my business is 4HG Publishing LLC, and 4HG stands for His Glory, and that's the official name of it. I operate under some other names as far as like different groups that I'm establishing, writing groups and different things like that. But that's the main operating name is 4HG Publishing LLC, and this is my book, 101 Things Every Man Should Know to Experience a Life of Victory and Impact. I also am on Facebook. Active on Facebook a lot. That's where I do most of my kind of social media type thing. And I'm here on Instagram. This is actually my music page. So I do, I put out, I'm a musician in training. I'm a singer in training. So
You do an excellent job,
yeah.
But go ahead.
Yeah. So, music is that's my heart ministry. That's my number one, just ministry. So I think I've sensed God just with an anointing on my music as I'm in person and as I'm with people. People just get moved. So that's one thing that I believe that the Lord is going to use. And so I work with clients one-on-one. I'm available through my website, docfrederick.com, DAKFREDERICK.com. My books are available on Amazon. This book is available on Barnes & Noble as well as some other platforms. And let me see if I'm missing anything. Yeah, that's primarily it. You can go to my website, docfrederick.com, to get an audiobook, and you can also get a free guide to help new authors. So it's a 5 steps to prepare for your journey of becoming an author. And if anyone's ever interested, they can also go to my website and schedule a book strategy game plan call where we try to identify what the main things are that's keeping them stuck, and we help them come up with a game plan on their next steps so they can actually write their book and put it out there to the world.
Awesome, awesome. Look forward to him more in our community. As I can say so, we are going to be seeing more of Doc, more book signings to come. And as we release that, you guys see, I'll share out flyers and different things like that. Doc, this has been amazing. If you like any of those that came on today, if you like what I'm saying today, there's a little present box. Just hit that little present box and give us some presents to keep us going on here. Now monetized. Thank you, IG, for that. And also thank you each person that came on. I believe it was Orlando Taylor. I hope I said your name right, Doc. Also, we had Andrew Anthony Owens. His book titled Surf Sandwich, and Kimberly, I forgot what the title of her book was, but a children's book talking about being of mixed race. So we talked about that too. So have an amazing day, Doc. We look forward to doing plenty of work with you. Doc, y'all remember that name. It's not going to go away. And keep doing amazing things. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Ms. Ron.
All right.
It was good meeting with you today.
Same here. It's always good to be with you. You guys, thank you for being here. Again, there's a present box probably after this goes off. You got to hit that and see if you enjoyed the shows here and just yesterday's shows as well. On this channel, we're going to do quite a few shout outs. That's on Tuesdays. And stay tuned on the 23rd and the 30th, which will be the last 2 Tuesdays in this month. On the 23rd, if you guys know Victor McLaughlin, he has a new book titled something about dating. I didn't really hone in on it, but he'll be on the next time, this coming Tuesday. Again, Victor McLaughlin, he'll be on. And then on the last Tuesday, we'll have, in our Scout Out, Shout Out, we'll have New York Times bestselling author Omar Tyree. So you guys will be, stay tuned for next week, sort of a back-to-back Tuesday. Again, Victor McLaughlin and Omar Tyree. Those two will be we'll close our Tuesdays out with that. Also, be on the lookout for our author. This is her book, Melvina Gray. This book is titled Combat-Related PTSD. We're going to talk to Melvina. It's going to be next week. We generally call this, this segment is titled Journey Through PTSD. Melvina is very transparent. That show is on Wisdom Only Audio, and we ask her a couple of questions. Now we're asking her about her journey after the transition or the passing of her husband. What is it like for her moving forward in her journey toward a healthier her, toward because at moment grieving, and now she's standing on her own. What did that take to stand on your own after the transition of her beloved husband, which is the Willie Gray story, and that is www.williegraystory.com. Do visit it. You can get that on Amazon, or you can go to her website, thewilliegraystory.com. She is honoring her husband who suffered severely from combat-related PTSD. You guys have been amazing here. Thank you so much for being here. Stay tuned for our next Tuesdays. And also I'll plug on there, what does it take to have a show with me, whether you want our morning show, which is Coffee, Tea, and a Book. That show is $75. What we do there, we read your synopsis. We hadn't read your book at all. And then we have a talk on your synopsis. And at the end of that, we will give you some feedback from your book. And then the second level is we will read 10 chapters of your book. We will give you some feedback on that. And we have a 1-hour show. We have Wisdom, Facebook, and Instagram. You choose one of those three, one of which show you want to be to have that 1-hour show. The third level is all 3 platforms that you're on, all 3 1 hour, they are scheduled. All of the shows are scheduled, except the morning show. You just come on because we're only doing your synopsis. But with that one, the third we have is we read your entire book, and you're on all 3 platforms, 3 1-hour shows, scheduled days. You guys have an amazing day, and I'll pop that on there so you guys can see that. Thank you guys for being here.